Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Duopoly Report. I'm Steve Cavieres. Well, here we are. It's June, and the campaign season for the primary is still a year away. But that does not mean the campaigning isn't being done, that positioning isn't being jockeyed for, and that things aren't happening. There's a whole lot happening out there. And interestingly enough, the Albuquerque Journal is giving op-ed space to one of the Donkeyphants state senators. And in an article that came out on June 2nd, it's entitled New Mexico Progressive Dems Splinter the Party and Ignore Reality by State Senator Clemente Sanchez, a Grants Democrat, right? So all of you guys in Valencia County, forget about it. He's not your senator, apparently. So let's take a look at what he has to say. He says, today's heated political rhetoric can trace its origins to multiple historical events, years of social and economic inequality, and the emergence of spirited, well-organized extremists from both major political parties. The rhetoric reflects an unhealthy division within one's own party. So right off the bat, it's interesting because you're going to find out that in this very short op-ed, there's going to be things I agree with that are on here. Like, there have been many historical events, and there's been years of social and economic inequality. And there has been an emergence of well-organized groups on many fronts. So, yeah. In the Democrat Party, I got to just stop right there, okay? This is like a giant foul. If you are a member of the Democratic Party of New Mexico, go check it out. Go to www.dpnm.org, I believe it is, or .com. And they don't call themselves the Democrat Party of New Mexico. It's Democratic. And this is a real tell on the part of Senator Clemente Sanchez. When you go Democrat Party, that was started by none other than Karl Rove. Karl Rove, who was a mastermind Republican strategist in the 80s, 90s, even in the late 70s. And he was the one that started calling members of the Democratic Party Democrat Party to try to get it away from them sounding like they were Democratic. And Republicans adopted that across the board. And so if you hang around with too many Republicans, you may find that you call the party that you belong to that puts a D after your name the Democrat Party. So that's a major foul right there. It's telling. In the Democrat Party, the reflection has manifested in factions splintering off, charging one another with ignoring each other's commitment to the lower and middle class, otherwise cemented in popular culture as the 99%. Well, I don't know what you call it. He's cemented in popular culture as if it's like this cool thing to say that doesn't have any bit in reality, like you said, but that is the reality. There's the 1% and then there's the rest of us. And when you get down from the 1%, the top 1% makes so much money. And here he is kind of saying that this is a trope, and it's not. This is actually reality. The dangers that lie with such division and fault finding is it breeds political and legislative environment where a group's ideas or common territory, ideology, trumps an ability to produce a desired or intended result, efficacy. In the case of today's inter-party fracturing, it's doubly disheartening, for it could be avoided if efficacy could indeed displace ideology as the party's mantra in Santa Fe. All right, so he's saying, we need to get things done, and ideology that gets in the way of that is not okay. Let's keep going here. Certain factions of the Democratic Party that find, not the Democrat Party? I thought it was the Democrat Party. That find themselves frustrated and abandoned by the moderate members are joined in their frustration by a majority of New Mexicans who are frustrated with elected officials whom they view as not working for the citizens of the state. I agree with you, Senator Sanchez. that many of us feel abandoned by moderate members, and we are the majority. Citizen frustration stems from a general sense that we have elected to lead us have become apathetic to their constituencies. The left or progressive faction frustration stems from the pursuit of perfection through ideological policy that is simply not realistic. Government is built, operated, and maintained by the people and for the people. But progressives want things that help the people. If you pass those things, like the Health Security Act, like a real minimum wage increase, like more early childhood education, like better environmental standards on the kind of fracking fluids and other methane releases that are occurring in our state, those things are for the people, not for the corporations. They're for the people. And you've been fighting these kinds of things. So I'm very confused as to where you think government is built, operated, and maintained by the people for the people, and progressives, I guess, are not for the people. I'm very interested in finding out who you think progressives are for then. So he goes on to say, given that human beings are supremely imperfect, and their very involvement precludes any semblance of perfection in the system, political subdivisions benefit when their lawmakers govern from the middle. It's where compromise and pragmatism come together to deliver tangible results to New Mexicans. Rhetoric and finger-pointing are designed to obstruct results. When progressives circle their wagons and collectively call out the moderate members of the Democratic Party, they produce negative results, a splintered base, and an emboldened opposition. So the thing I don't think you understand, Senator Sanchez, is that the base is not moderate. The base is more progressive. The base is more left. The base is more populist. The base is hurting. The base is starving. The base is being incarcerated. The base is not making enough money for the work that they do. The base is not being able to share in the bounty that this state provides from our unbelievably large permanent funds that just sit there, for those rainy days, because I guess we need to wait for a rainy day because we're not 50th in education or 49th. Sometimes Alabama sneaks in there and saves us. Mississippi, we're at the bottom. We're at the bottom of so many good things. And we're at the top of so many bad things. And there's so much that can be done. And yet, apparently, asking for that is splintering the base. Asking for the public to be taken care of is emboldening the opposition. Well, I have news for you. The opposition is not the Republicans. Because you coalesce with the Republicans while you're in the state Senate. You vote the same way that Republicans vote on lots of the largest issues that we face in our state in every legislative session. You are part of the coalition that puts Mary Kay Papin at the helm of this and puts conservatives in nearly all of the committees as the chairs. You are the ones that kill all of that good legislation. So when you say that the progressives don't work with you, it's that I think it's more the other way around. You see what's coming and you're part of the knights that say no. And no. No is what you do, no is what you say, no is what you know best. This is a terrible op-ed. It's full of fallacies. It's not very long. And it basically says, hey, look, you have a problem with what I'm doing? Shut up. All right, just shut up. Shutting up is what you're supposed to do, public. I am the senator. I am doing for you. You must be happy with whatever I do. Otherwise, you're splintering the base and you're emboldening the opposition. Really? This is weak tea. This is an op-ed that a high schooler would have written. This is not. You need some real salvation here. If this is the best you can give us, Senator Sanchez, if this is really the best you can give us, then I think there should be a lot of questioning of whether you should be in office when the next election comes around. You need someone to rescue you at this point. I mean, the desperation is starting to show, and if someone doesn't come rushing to your defense, then it. Oh, hey, wait a minute. What's that sound? It sounds like, I'm not sure what that is. Who is that? Where is it coming from? Ho! 'Tis I, Jeff Poe, son of Jerry Poe, and I'm a knight in the service of the Order of the Donkeyphants of New Mexico, and I'm here to reclaim this space for the Donkeyphants as it rightfully should be in any corner of New Mexico, whether physically or in digital space. Yeah, that's right, the gift that just keeps on giving, Jeff Apodaca, comes to the rescue. And I will say comes to the rescue because he's got his own opinion about what was written, and he placed it in his own page on Facebook. And I will have to say that what he's about to say is similar to what Senator Sanchez had to say, but there's a little bit more eloquence, there's a little bit more correctness, a little bit more correctness. And then Minute by Jeff Apodaca. Has the new progressive movement taken over the Democratic Party of New Mexico? This is what lifelong moderate Democrats believe. It's what they believe, along with believing they're being pushed out of the party. The Democratic State Central Committee has reported that 72% of county and precinct chairs elected this past month are new progressives or transplants to New Mexico within the past few years, and that the progressive movement is here to stay. That's why you're seeing so many of our Democratic political leaders moving to the socialist progressive left. Senator Clemente Sanchez wrote an op-ed in yesterday's Albuquerque Journal on how the progressives have splintered the party. Senator Sanchez and other moderate Democrats are correct. The progressive leadership in the House and even in the Senate has made it very clear to all of us that either you do it our way or we will primary you in 2020. The left side of the party is raising millions of dollars to primary 7 to 9 moderate state senators and what's left of the moderates in the House. 7 to 9. So I had the 7 Donkeyphants of the apocalypse in my very first video that I ever did about is the New Mexico State Senate really controlled by the Democrats? And now he's saying, it could be 9, right? There's a few more out there. Or they're kind of like floaters. They come in and out of Donkeyphantism. Or maybe they just let the big 7 do most of the heavy lifting of saying no to good legislation, and when they need to, they jump in. Is Senator Sanchez factual when he states, quote, the rhetoric reflects unhealthy division within one's own party? Progressives refuse to work with the moderates in office, continue to attack their positions, and primary them, even though the majority of New Mexicans don't support the progressive movement. There's a reason why groups like Democrats for Democracy or #WalkAway have started. This is why the fastest growing party in New Mexico are independents, or 1/3 of the vote. Anti-democratic progressive social media groups in New Mexico have well over 100,000 followers, much larger than either party. So this is confusing here when I read this, because he's saying that most people don't support progressives, and yet I guess, anti-democratic progressive social media groups. Anti-democratic progressive groups have well over 100,000 followers. It's a very, very confusing statement because there are groups out there that have lots and lots of followers that are both progressive and others that are not progressive. I can tell you that most of the Democrats are pro-choice, and yet we had a anti-choice vote in the state Senate this year. I can tell you that most Democrats in New Mexico and most New Mexicans are fine with registration of guns. And we did finally, after some enormous amount of wrangling, and it took years to get to this point, got a little bit of a gun registration bill in New Mexico. So the question that Jeff Apodaca is posing here is that maybe moderates should walk away. Maybe moderates should leave the Democratic Party. Sounds like divisive talk to me. Isn't it interesting that when moderates run the show, they have no problem telling progressives, shut up and vote with us. It's called unity and you're going to like it. But the second the pendulum even begins to swing in the other direction, the call is, it's the end of the world. We got to walk away. We can't be united. This is terrible. This is awful. They're like the first ones to say it. Unity is an illusion. It's usually forced. It's usually coerced, especially with the moderates that have been doing so for decades. So I hate to tell you this, but the times are changing. The people are changing. It's not just in the country as a whole, but in New Mexico as well. Voters who are under 40 years of age are demonstratively progressive and further to the left than people that are over 40 years of age. And there are those like me, a little bit over 40 years of old, who are also to the left and progressive as well. We've been waiting for another group of people to join us, and now the millennials and Gen Y are starting to do that. And a few good baby boomers out there, but not most of them. So I hate to tell you guys, but like I said, times are changing. They're not changing in your direction. So you need to ask yourselves, what kind of Democrats are you going to be? You've asked us for decades to shut up and vote blue no matter who. Even if it's a governor of Louisiana who signed a bill almost as bad as the one that was done in Alabama. There's not room for that anymore. You're behind the 8 ball, and you're going to have to find a new way to work with the ever-growing, ever-larger group of people who do not agree with you. That will be your challenge, Jeff and Clemente and others like you. I honestly think you're not really up for the challenge. It will not change how you operate. The fact that the percentages of people are growing and growing that identify with left and progressive. The fact that even a majority of Republicans support the idea of Medicare for all. The idea that a majority of Republicans and independents support some gun registration legislation. The fact that a majority of Americans support hiking the minimum wage and higher than that little thing that you guys did last year. So, good luck. There are people organizing. And I think what frightens you more than that is the progressives don't need nearly the amount of money that moderates and conservatives need to win elections, because they can mobilize people, and people replace money. Yeah, you still need money, But when you've got people willing to back progressive candidates who speak directly to them, excite them, and excite them not only to vote, but actually to come out and campaign and knock on doors and tell their stories and ask for something better, then that's what you're really afraid of. That is what you are really afraid of. You know that you can't astroturf your way out of this one. And smart people like you, Jeff, know that the demographics are changing and not in your favor. The progressive wave's coming, and I cannot wait to see what's coming in 2020 and the run up to 2020. This has been the Duopoly Report with Steve Cavietes. Thanks for supporting us. If you liked what you saw, please click the like button down below. Click the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to our channel. We're shooting to get to 100 subscribers here very soon. When that happens, a whole lot of other great things can get triggered. Live streaming of the Duopoly Report, a URL that has just Duopoly Report at the end instead of 8 million characters so we can be more searchable. Please consider supporting me on patreon.com. I'm at patreon.com/Duopoly Report. I've gotten a couple new subscribers in the last few days. Thank you very much. You're helping create something here that's only going to get better as time goes on.